In our last video, we created our statement of cash flows and tied it back to our balance sheet in order to get our three-statement model to balance. In this video, we're going to tidy up our statement of cash flows and prepare it under the traditional method using the indirect method, where we have cash flows from operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. Now, these values are not going to change. We may change the formulas a little bit, but the ordering is really what I'm most interested in changing. So for that, I'm actually just gonna get rid of this line here because we're gonna have to redo it. And I am first going to add a new line, and we're gonna call that cash from operating activities. Let's go ahead and bold that. Now the first section, or the first account rather, in cash from operating activities is going to be our net income. And let's just go ahead and indent that. Now, the next two accounts, let's just add those placeholders as well, is going to be depreciation expense and amortization expense. We want to add both of those to the statement of cash flows at the top because we know that those are non-cash expenses. So I'm going to write depreciation expense. And let's add another row by pressing Control+, and it is going to say amortization expense. Okay, unbold those and let's indent. Now, as we know, retained earnings is really an accumulation of our prior net income. The net income, the way that we set it up here, it pulls from the balance sheet, but in reality, it's just the difference of what is pulling from the income statement. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to replace that by just referring directly to the income statement as such. And it looks like I just have to change the formatting here. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing for depreciation expense and amortization expense. And let's just unbolt that. Okay, now I can go to my accumulated depreciation line item and my accumulated amortization line item, as well as my net income line item and my retained earnings line item. None of these I'm going to need because instead I'm just going to pull the value each month from the income statement. Now you'll notice that accumulated depreciation and amortization is actually a minus. That's actually a mistake on my end. In reality, the way that these accounts would show on the balance sheet is via a negative. The idea is that these are contra accounts and they offset the balance in the section that they're in. So let me just go ahead and fix that here as well. So it's going to be the prior month minus. And now my balance shows positive because it should actually be an add back. Okay, let's delete these lines. We don't need them anymore. And let's continue segmenting our cash from operating activities. So we know that accounts receivable, prepaid expense, inventory, those are all going to be our cash from operating activities. So I'm gonna press Control+X. I'm gonna come over here to row 7 and I'm gonna press Control+. That will surgically insert my cut cells into the location that I want. Then we have security deposit is going to be an investing activity since it's a long-term asset. So I'll take due from officers and that should be my last asset. And now I'm going to do the same thing for our current liabilities. So accounts payable, accrued expenses, accrued payable, deferred revenue, sales tax payable. All of these should indeed be operating activities. And I'll just hit Control+X and then Control+. Perfect. Now let's just add one more row and let's call this total cash from operating activities. And I can drag this one over here forward. And let's just align this all the way to the left as such. Okay, now for our cash from operating activities, I'll just hit Alt equals. It's gonna sum everything above. And now we have our first section, cash from operating activities. Now let's set our cash from investing activities. So I'm going to say cash from investing activities. All right, so for that, we are going to have security deposit, due from officers, computers, furniture, equipment, trademarks, and copyrights. Let me just add a few more rows. Let's also just reduce the indent here and one over here. And now I'm gonna write total cash from investing activities. Excellent. Okay, let's bold this row and let's sum up our values above. Okay, now for our last section, it's going to be our cash from financing activities. So I'm gonna write cash from financing activities. Let's decrease the indent. Let's make it bold. All right, now we already have all of these accounts. These are the ones that are left over as such. Now I'll say total cash from financing activities. Let's go ahead and bold it. And I'll just hit Alt equals as such. Okay, so now that we have all of our sections, to get our total cash flows, I simply need to take my cash from operating activities plus my cash from investing activities plus my cash from financing activities. Let's hit enter and let's drag this forward as such. Okay, now let's double check. Does our balance sheet again tie? It looks like it did. So now we have our official professional statement of cash flows in the exact order and sections that we need. Way to go. You just created a full statement of cash flows.